What's your idea for a story that you'll never write? A novel where the antagonist becomes omnipotent and starts to fight with the author for control of the story. I just have no idea how to actually write it. You should play the Stanley Parable. Awesome. Funny game and not too expensive. At least check out the free demo, and if you like the humor style, try the full game. It's also currently in the Humble Bundle, so you can pick it up for even cheaper. For some reason, when I was reading World War Z, I kept thinking about the zombies completely winning. There being not a single living human left on the planet. Then alien explorers finding Earth. They are just completely freaked out by it. Have no clue what to make of this planet completely inhabited by the living dead. The main scene I always have in my head is the beginning of it. They are hovering over New York and an alien at some kind of science station is insisting there are no life signs, while the captain just keeps saying something like, "Then what the hell are those things walking around down there?" This would make for an excellent short story. Thanks, I always thought so, but I'm not much of a writer, so it's just a general idea in my head, haha. Another scene for it I've had in my head is them deciding to beam one up for a closer look. Since they are all slow and shambling down there, they think it's low risk, but as soon as it's on the transporter pad inside the ship and sees fresh meat, it charges at them. They try to throw up a force field, but it's already half over the threshold, so the force field ends up cutting it in half. Of course the torso keeps coming at them, and now they are more confused and freaked out than ever before. There's a box. Inside the box shows you what your life would have been had you never looked. Edit. So wait. Should I write it? Edit 2.0. I put in on/r/writing prompts now because that was suggested a few times. That is one hell of maddening feedback loop paradox you got going on there. Don't look and struggle with knowing you could have. Look and fail trying to imitate what could have been. Or look and live differently, knowing you missed out on what you were meant to have. Someone who lives to lives. Literally, every other day they wake up the other person, reliving the same day from the other perspective, retaining memories of the day before. One of these is a life in a rich, well-off family. Then the other is living in a much poorer country, far away. Then one day, something happens while living the initial rich life, perhaps a terrorist attack, or similar. They die, and wake up in the other life, fearing the consequences. They travel to try and prevent the disaster and save themselves. Please write this. I would read it. Me too. This is one of the most interesting, unique ideas I've read. Would love to give it a read. If you really don't want to write it yourself, I suggest posting it in /r/writing prompts. There are lots of good writers there. Apple and Microsoft become the new form of government, and their technology and funding become available by way of election. Hack a Steam green light, vote up my game, and get free Steam key when it releases. I couldn't find the words, but I thought it'd be cool for a /r/short story submission. Basically a spaceship is flying around a star, but something isn't right. The big reveal is that it's not a star, but it's the lighty part to a massive creature similar to our bioluminescent fish in the deep ocean. Doctor Who writers, I hope you're reading this. Actually, there was an episode broadcast in 2007 named 42, in which the Doctor and his companion Martha arrive on a spaceship orbiting a star. However, they soon discover that the star is a living creature that is taking its revenge on the crew because they've been using it as an energy output. The star creature then ends up possessing one of the crew to use them to kill the others. He wears a strange red mask with the hatch covering his eyes, and when he opens them up, the star's energy burns you to death. The catch: they've got to figure out how to stop it, all in 42 minutes, hence the name 42. A world that expands forever, meaning that since the start of time humans walked and migrated outwards. Over time near the center you had civilizations start forming. Over time the areas closer to the center would tend to be more technologically advanced than going towards the edges, which would extend to hundreds of thousands or millions of miles. Eventually there'd be air travel that lets the center nations have more and more contact with outer regions. Exploration would always be a thing. Rumors would always exist of what exists over there, such as an advanced nation that no one expected to exist that far away. or rumors of multiple centers, and not just one. Eventually there would be rockets that can travel to the edge of humanity. But due to gravity we could never land someone that far and have them come back, at least not with modern technology. Not sure what the focus/plot of the book would be, but this is a world I'd love to build out. I've written outlines for lots of aspects of the world, including some geography and history, but never anything that could be a story. Edit. Some people have asked for permission to write a story or use this in some way. Sure thing. I'd love to see this more fleshed out. If anything, a world this big could host many different stories, and not just one. Here's a reply I sent out with some more of my ideas about this story. I dug around for my notes, but gave up without finding them. But some concepts I remember had to do with travel, which depends on the time period of your story. Even though cars exist, you could only drive so far before getting gas became difficult due to the lands you're traveling through not having cars themselves and oil. Even in modern times there was a distance point where horses made sense. Same issue with planes. Can only fly so far before fuel and runways become problems. Another concept was the fact that certain paths were better built up than others. I like the concept that, although generally speaking the closer to the center you were the more technology was available, since nations had more time to form. People had more time to populate. The history was richer, so there was more diversity in cultures, etc. But there could be far away fertile areas, or specific rivers/oceans, that made the build up uneven. I took some inspiration from Perth in Australia. It's a metropolis in the middle of nowhere, so that could exist there. Some city that's modern, has an airport, has cars, and is tens of thousands of miles away from the rest of modern nations. I did do some math to see how big a center with relatively modern technology would be. It would definitely encompass more landmass than our current Earth. Meaning if you were thinking of it as circles, it'd easily be over 100,000 miles, and you'd still have roads, telephones, airports, and etc. But there could be really poor unbuilt places, such as many third world nations today within that radius. I tried adding geological issues, mountains, oceans, deserts, tundras, to limit modern nations from reaching out too far. I like the concept of medieval societies existing that have contact with modern nations. A medieval king in a castle that has some access to radios, anti-VS, etc. But lived in a place where the castle was the only place to have access to electricity that came from a windmill, no diesel generators even. Another angle is the exploration of faraway lands. A guy fully loading a one-way long-range airplane, landing it as far as he could, unloading a car/truck, and driving it as far as he could, taking out a horse, and going as far as he could, would bring some sort of hand-cranked power generator and a radio to communicate back with home, to catalog what he finds. He'd find new nations, new languages, including people who have heard rumors of his society existing far away, people who would treat him like a god, people who would be hostile. Also, I liked the idea of a rocket being used to actually cover a few million miles, but I didn't like the idea of being able to actually reach the end of humanity's spread. I think I gave this world unrealistic physics. Flat world, not a planet. Gravity making orbits impossible. Or rockets could only go on ballistic trajectories to prevent modern rockets from being able to cover distances too vast. I just want you to know that, even if the thread doesn't take off, this is my favorite one. You should delete this and write it. I'm going to set a D&D campaign in this universe. I hope you don't mind. If you do, would you mind sharing that campaign with me? I'm not that creative, but I'd love to play this. Two lost souls meet at a bar in hell. Watch TV as the world above ends. Placing bets on who will be joining them soon. I really like this edition. A man learns that the truth about his father, who he thought died during the Gulf War while completing his PhD in history. Obsessed with history and war, he notices his father in various images throughout many war stories and footage. The story takes the son on the journey to discover a long history of people who have traveled from the future to the 16th century to create a better future for humanity. Time travel has rendered his father and his crew immortal. The story revolves around the son tracking his elusive father, learning about the crew of immortal warriors and their impact on human history. He realizes that their interventions have created chaos, famine, and stifled progress to all humanity in their efforts to keep humanity from discovering time travel. The son has to find it within himself to stop his father and his crew once and for all. Damn, this is actually a really good one. Looking for free ideas? I see how it is. Writer's block. What he should do to escape writer's block is to travel or talk to people. I just got into painting landscapes, and the best source of creativity is trying to create a world and define its features. See my comment below. D. A humanitarian crisis or conflict, real or imaginary. From the point of view of an avid hobbyist, I was thinking a bad watcher or something. There were bombings downtown this past week. The smoke and noise have driven the Stellings south. No idea where a story like that could go, but I really like the feel of it. I absolutely love this idea. Could be very provocative, in an understated and beautiful way. In the right hands this could be painful and beautiful. Could easily go wrong though. A Muslim from the Middle East is trained to hijack a jet and crash it into some building in the US. The night before he is nervous and can't sleep. The day if everything is ready, the plan is all set, but he falls asleep on the plane and it lands safely, knowing he will be killed if he returns or is found. He assumes life wherever he landed and learns to appreciate American culture. Rampant STD kills 90% of the women on the planet. Society collapses. Children and surviving women are sought after. Maybe the story is about a man whose wife survives and he has to protect her. Or a father/daughter combo. I dunno. The scenario has stuck with me though. A Dead Man's Clothes. A collection of short stories about a man who died of cancer. His clothes get donated to a thrift store. The stories surround the day that each article gets bought and what they do with them. The suit gets bought for an interview. Shoes a first date. Jeans a workman who almost dies in a work accident. Life goes on even when you die. As a lover of vintage items I often conjure up stories of the pre-loved items I buy. I love this idea so much. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.